Remember that the CPE exam is like any other exam. You are there to talk. Imagine that you're having a conversation with the interlocutor and don't think very much about the other person, the assessor behind the interlocutor. Try and have a conversation as naturally as possible. Breathe in, relax, and try and think of it as if you're sharing a cup of coffee with someone else. In part one, there are some introductions, and the interlocutor will ask you for your name and surname and where you're from and what you're doing at the moment, and then they will proceed to asking some questions of a personal nature. Make sure that you're relaxed and that you give as much information as possible. In part one, you're going to be asked some personal information questions, and they could be about anything and everything. Some examples from the Cambridge website are, for example, how much free time do you have at the moment? How good are you at organizing your time? What would your dream job be? So be prepared and practice answering lots of different types of questions. Remember that part one lasts 2 minutes if you are a couple and 3 minutes for groups of 3. So in those 2 minutes, you have basically about a minute to answer those questions that you may be asked at the beginning. So make sure that you keep them short, simple, but at the same time that you try and give as much information as possible. In part two, you're given a combined task. The first part, you talk to your partner and you discuss 2 of the pictures pointed out by the interlocutor amongst the pictures given to you. Make sure you look at the pictures and that you work together. The key word here is together. For this first part of part 2, where you work together with your partner on the description of those 2 pictures given, you have about a minute for this, so make sure that you keep the interaction flowing as if it was a tennis match. Don't hug the time, and remember that you need to work together. In the second half of part 2, you're then stopped and invited to look at the whole situation again and then decide which issue or idea might be the most important or most stimulating with your partner. So make sure that in this second half you also work with your partner closely. In this second half of part 2, where you then need to make a decision with your partner about the pictures that you were discussing initially, you are given 3 minutes to talk about this, and 4 minutes if it was a group of 3. Make sure that you use that time to have a good discussion and that you work together. In this part of the test, you start by speaking for 2 full minutes in answer to a question posed. Be careful, because if you're not the one speaking initially, then you need to listen to what the other person is saying, as you will be invited into the conversation, and this is very important. Remember that in this part of the test, you're given a card with prompts for you to read, so that you can then base your 2-minute answer on the prompts and the topic on the card. Make sure that you don't hold the card up and that you leave it on the table, and that you allow your partner to see the card. They will need to do the same when it's their turn, so that you know what the topic and prompts are, so that you can then comment when you're invited at the end of the long term. Once the 2 minutes are over, the interlocutor will thank you and then ask the other candidate a few questions about the topic. Make sure that if you're not the one speaking, then that you are ready to answer or give an opinion on questions regarding the topic the other person spoke about. The same process is then repeated for the other candidate. In the final part of the test, the interlocutor then asks several questions to both candidates. This part may take up to 4 minutes. Be ready and alert as you may be asked that question directly or asked to discuss it with your partner. All the information used for this video was taken from the CambridgeEnglish.org website CPE examination and the sample paper given there.